Evan Fournier kicks the Washington Wizards while they're down. And is Corey Kispert the future in DC, or is he a trade asset going forward? We're going to talk about it next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Brandon Scott again, and I appreciate you guys making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And tonight's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of an NFL Sunday ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. All you have to do is visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, everybody. Evan Fournier kicks the Wizards watered down. So there's some very curious comments coming from Evan Fournier, who's now playing in Greece. And we're going to take a look at Corey Kispert. Is he a future in DC, or is he a trade asset? We're going to look at what his role should be this season and look at some trade destinations, and then we're going to call it a night, man. So, again, appreciate you guys, man. Let's get into it. Evan Fournier, Lord have mercy. Evan Fournier says he rejected a Wizards contract offer because he didn't want to play for a losing team. No, Lord have mercy. Former NBA wing Evan Fournier, who just signed a 2-year, $4 million deal with Greek professional basketball club Olympiakos. Oh, Lord have mercy. I butchered that. Olympiakos. There you go. Said he turned down the contract with the Washington Wizards because, again, he did not want to play for a losing team. So let's get into this, man. I know a lot of people have responded to this report. Number one, he played for the Detroit Pistons. So, I mean, the pot can't call the kettle black. I'm just saying, like, really, you can't call the way. You can't say you didn't take a contract with the Wizards because you didn't want to play for a losing team. You just played with the daggone Detroit Pistons, who are right there on our level, if not worse, man. And I mean, this season coming up, man, it's gonna be us, them, Charlotte. I mean, we're going to be the worst. So I don't understand. I don't really understand that too much. Now I get it. It's free agency. He's within his rights to go anywhere he wants within the confines of the NBA or internationally. A lot of players, man, if they don't find that contract in the NBA, they very often not to go to overseas. And overseas has its purpose, right? Good competitive basketball overseas, man. A lot of players who don't necessarily want to play in college, they go overseas and they get much needed experience. And and not only on the court, but off the court, learning how to be a professional and stuff like that. So overseas basketball has its uses, and I think it's definitely one of the best pieces of the diversity of the NBA, man. So many different options for young men to go to. If you don't want to go to Duke or North Carolina, you can go play in Greece, you can go play in the Balkans, you can go play in Australia. So there's a lot of options for people to get ready. Either A, get ready for the NBA draft, or B, extend their basketball career. So again, overseas basketball is another component that makes basketball great, man, as opposed to other sports. Look at baseball. Very few Major League Baseball players go over and play in Korea or Japan. Once you're out, and don't receive any more contracts in Major League Baseball, usually you just, go to coaching, or you try to stay on in the minors for a little bit, but that's it. So like I said, that's the one part of basketball I do like. But getting back to Evan Fournier, yeah, I get it. The Wizards are easy to clown. I mean, we're bad. We're going to be bad for a while. And, when you look at, the NBA, it's a bandwagon league. We all know that. I mean, nobody was a Golden State Warriors fan until they started winning championships. Before then, it was crickets, right? When Baron Davis was in town, you didn't see many Golden State fans. So, certain teams, certain markets are always going to get the storylines. They're always going to get the love. They're always going to get the fans. There's a lot of LA Laker fans who've never been to Los Angeles, and it just is what it is. The Knicks, Knicks are, more so closer to New York. Same thing with Philly and the 76ers, but there's just certain franchises like the Lakers, now Golden State, that, bandwagon fans go to. So I get it. Right now, it's easy to clown the Wizards, but my message to Evan Fournier is keep that same energy when we start winning. Look, I'm very enthusiastic about the Washington Wizards, man, and what they're trying to do. And I haven't always been like that. If you guys know me, when I first started here on Locked On, when it was me and the real Ed Oliver, man, in which we were the best backcourt in the DMV, just saying. But I threw a lot of smoke in the organization, especially when Bradley Beal was here. Nothing against Brad. He was my number 3 favorite Wizard of all time behind Gilbert Arenas and John Wall, but he was never that guy. And the Supermax contract was a disaster. And Tommy Shepard, including, you know, you can throw him in there with Ernie Grunfeld, were a couple of very incompetent general managers. And so now you finally have a front office where they're doing it the right way. They're building it the right way. You know, you're using analytics, scouting, development, you know, definitely, you know, trying to develop this young talent, using veteran players as mentors and trade pieces to get further assets in the draft or young players in return. So they're doing it the right way. And that's why I'm very, very enthusiastic and a big supporter of this front office, man, because they're doing it the right way. And it's going to take a while. You know, so Evan Fournier, you know, he that was a report that I did an episode on a while back early in the offseason that the Wizards were interested in. And we brought in some guys, you know, Sadiq Bey was brought in, Jonas Valanciunas. So Evan Fournier, I think he could have been good for the Wizards. He could have been a mentor, especially the French players like Bilal Koulibaly and Alex Sarr, because he knows how it is. He was one of the early French players, man, after Tony Parker, but you know, because Tony Parker was kind of the pioneer of French players coming over and finding success in the NBA. But he's a guy who knows how it is to make that transition from France to the United States, which is a big culture gap. We all know that. Even though they're both Western countries, France is a little different than the U.S. and vice versa. So, yeah, I thought he could have been good for the Wizards. Now, why he felt the need to kick the Wizards while they're down, I don't understand that. You know, obviously we're bad, and it's easy to clown us, but, I mean, yeah, you know, could he have been a little more tact? Yeah. But then what's really going to come out of this? I mean, people might be upset, but, I mean, I just, you know, so to me, it's just hot air. You know, to kick the Wizards while they're down, we know we're bad. You know, I get it. Everybody wants to go play in LA. Everybody wants to play in New York. Everybody, you know, I get all that. But my message not only to Evan Fournier, but here's my message to NBA fans overall who aren't Wizards fans, even the Wizards fans who are skeptical about the new direction or the new front office. Keep that same energy when they start winning. It's going to be a long road towards contention. Probably going to be 2 or 3 more seasons just drafting in the top 10 and developing talent. But keep that same energy, because I'm trying to tell you, they're going to build this into a sustainable winner, a sustainable contender for NBA championships. And I believe that. Like I said, past eras in DC, yeah, I didn't have that fuzzy feeling. You know, looking at Gilbert Arenas in that era, you just didn't have that dominant starting center. You know, you had, you know, Antoine Jameson at power forward, you had Cron Butler, and you had, you know, Agent Zero doing his thing, but they never had that center. They didn't have that bench. They're really pushing past the first round. Or, you know, so, and you're looking at John Wall, they never made that one transaction to really push us past that point, right? You know, we would have had the backcourt John Wall and Gilbert Arenas, but, you know, we could have got Klay Thompson. We could have went out there and spent some assets to go get Paul George. You know, the fact of the matter, you add that to the, you know, trading first round picks every year, or trading first round picks for players that you don't turn around and retain. Looking at, you know, Bogdanovic, or overpaying players who aren't starting talent, and Otto Porter. There were so many reasons why we did not get past the first and the second round in the John Wall era. And then the Bradley Beal era, it was a dumpster fire from the get. So they're finally doing it the right way. So, you know, kind of a message of Evan Fournier. Yeah, he's within his rights to have an opinion. We're easy prey to make fun of right now. We're a bad team. You know, Detroit's easy. We're easy. The Hornets are too easy, especially when Michael Jordan was the owner. Too easy. Great player, my GOAT, but ownership-wise and, you know, getting talent out of the draft, not his finest body of work. But I'll say this, keep that same energy. Right now, we are laughable. You know, right now, we're the butt of most jokes in the NBA. I get all that. And there's nothing we can do. We're bad. But keep that same energy, man. So Evan Fournier, like I said, he's a guy that we definitely showed interest in signing. I thought that he could be a really good mentor and a player that we could flip for some assets at some point. But like I said, he rejected the contract offered by the Washington Wizards and went overseas. And like I said, Godspeed. Definitely wish him all well in his future endeavors and extending his basketball career. But come on, bro. You ain't got to kick his ball down, man. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about tonight, because I know that was a report that came out from Evan Fournier. So, all right, guys, we're going to look at Corey Kispert. What should his role be in Washington, D.C. this season coming up? And is he here for the long run, or is he a trade asset that eventually will be moved at some point? So we're going to look at his role this year, and we're going to look at some trade destinations for my guy, Corey Kispert. But before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. So you guys have heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 Sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you guys tonight. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a YouTube TV based plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel any time. And if that's not enough for you guys, FanDuel also has something special for our listeners this weekend. This weekend, y'all. Be sure to check out FanDuel's Profit Boost in the app and use it for FanDuel's double your winnings for all Sunday. Pre-game moneyline bets. Profit Boost will be live starting Friday. View your account page now to learn more about your boost. So look, all you have to do is just visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook. And again, visit FanDuel.com to look at odds so you definitely can get the most out of your bets this weekend in the NFL. FanDuel. Thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen of the day. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On NBA podcast. There is no offseason in the NBA, let me tell y'all. And Locked On NBA provides daily basketball analysis from national and local experts in 30 minutes or less. No one keeps you as informed and entertained as Locked On NBA. Available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single day. All right, everybody, let's get back into it, shall we? Corey Kispert. What is his role this season coming up? And is he a long-term piece? Or is he eventually going to be moved at some point? So we're going to look at his role real quick, and then we're going to look at some trade destinations and see which one would work in a potential Corey Kispert move. So look at my man Corey Kispert going into his 4th year. He's definitely his contract year. Last year, he played 80 games out of 82. So look, availability is your best ability. And he's shown that he can stay on the court, which is big for a team that has dealt with their fair share of injuries, man. Dating back to the epidemic, man. We've had issues with players not being on the court. So he did start 22 games. Now he averaged around 25.8 minutes a game, shot 48% from field goal range. 3-point range, he shot 38% from the perimeter. Woo! Free throws, 72%, which actually went down because his rookie year, he shot 87% from free throw, and then it went down to 85. So definitely want to see him get better with his free throws, man, especially when you're a shooter. You definitely want to see him get better at the charity stripe. He averaged 2.8 rebounds a game, and that's pretty average what he produces every year because his rookie year was 2.7, then 2.8, and then 2.8 again. His assist numbers did go up, and I think that a lot of that had to do with him working on his ball handling and working on his ability to create for others. So you definitely saw his assists go up, and I think it would go up this year also. He averaged around a half a steal a game, and then 0.2 blocks a game. You're not a guy who's going to get a lot of block numbers. So defensively, a guy that's shown a lot more effort, a lot more energy on the defensive end. Now, he's still far from being a lockdown defender, but he's a guy who's shown a lot more energy on the defensive end to the point where a lot of teammates, and this is straight from Corey Kispert's mouth, that where he's gotten a lot of feedback from a lot of teammates about how far he's gone as far as his defense. So he's definitely gotten a lot better with his defense, man. He's not purely just a sharpshooter. He's a guy who shown some energy on the defensive end. Now, you definitely want to see him progress more and become more of an asset on the defensive end for the Wizards, but, he's getting better. So, and points per game, he averaged 13.4, which was went up from 11.1 from his sophomore campaign. So what should his role be in DC? And I think, I'm going to say this, quite frankly, the same role he's had the whole time. What do we, offensively? He's a guy who high basketball IQ, coming from a, top flight program like Gonzaga. Gonzaga brings guys, puts guys in the NBA who have basketball IQ, man. Rui Hachimura was one of those guys where hate him or love him. He's a guy he showed great basketball IQ. And like I said, when you see these players coming from your North Carolinas, your Dukes, your Gonzagas, man, your University of Kentucky, you see guys who have high basketball IQ because of just the level of coaching they have at those programs. Now, he's a sharpshooter. So his main role right now, we don't know what the starting five is going to be. Right now, you're going to see a lot of lineups, a lot of different lineups, a lot of different combinations in the preseason with head coach Brian Keefe. Bilal Coulibaly, Alex Sarr, do they start? I think they do. Corey Kispert is a guy that, some people have put him out there as maybe potentially starting at the shooting guard. But, right now, we do not know what the starting five is going to be. Now, at point guard, obviously, Jordan Poole is looking like he's going to be the guy. And, two guard is the question. I think point guard is not the question. Center is not the question. I think two guard, small forward, and power forward are the main question. Two guard, do you put Bilal out there who can play the 2 or the 3? Because you have to have one defensive guy in the backcourt where, with Jordan Poole, which, Jordan Poole is kind of like Corey Kispert, shown a lot more energy in the second half of the last season on the defensive end, but he's far from being a lockdown defender. So you need a guy who is a good defender in that backcourt. So Bilal's definitely a guy that, could be that 2 guard. Looking at small forward, Kyle Kuzma has been, a lot of people saying that he could be the guy there if Alex Sarr starts at the 4. So like I said, right now it's up in the air. But looking at Corey Kispert, he's a guy who's definitely, I'm looking at him to be the 6th man. That microwave score, that scoring punch off the bench. So that's the role that I envision for him this season coming up. Now, spot starter is another role too. He's a guy who definitely start will call upon. Now, is he the future starter? It does not appear to be so. If you're looking at 2 guard, it's going to be Bilal Coulibaly until they find, until Bub Carrington's ready. And if they indeed still want to roll with a future backcourt of Jordan Poole and Bub Carrington, then Bub Carrington is looked at to be your future shooting guard, with Bilal sliding to the 3, and then Alex Sarr, the long-term solution at the 4. So, like I said, this season is kind of like last season where they're advertising a lot of these vets to trade, and still trying to find minutes for young guys. Because you best believe, y'all, they have to find minutes for Bilal Coulibaly, aka B Cool, and they have to find minutes for Alex Sarr and Bub Carrington. And Keyshawn George, we're going to see whether they start him off in the G League or what kind of rotation is going to happen in the second unit. There's a lot of questions to that. Especially when you still have Patrick Baldwin Jr. in the mold, Corey Kispert's in the mold. So, where does Keyshawn George slot early on in the season? I think that definitely in the second half, when you see a lot of these trades starting to happen for the Wizards, you're going to see some playing time freed up for Keyshawn George, and he should be because the brother can shoot, man. But, getting back to Corey Kispert, to me, his role in DC this year should be 6 man, being that scoring punch off the bench. Because with his shooting ability, look at his shooting stats. Every year he's been a threat. His rookie year, 35% from 3, which was, round average is around 35%. His sophomore campaign, 42%. Come on, man. Then last year, 38. And then from a field goal percentage level, man, 45, 49, 48. So he's a consistent shooter. 3-point, mid-range. He's a guy who can cut to the basket, slash to the basket. And he's a guy who now he's starting to put the ball on the floor and create for others. So, like I said, his role should definitely be that scoring punch on the second unit. So his role long term, is he here for the long run, or is he a trade piece? And like I said, you've heard timeline a lot on this channel since the rebuild started. And the timeline, at one point you looked at certain players, formerly players that were drafted by Tommy Shepard, looking at Rui Hachimura at one point, Corey Kispert, Denny Avia, Johnny Davis, and to a certain degree, all of them, if you throw in Jordan Poole coming over from the trade from the Golden State Warriors, all of them were considered part of the future. They were all young. They were all haven't even hit their, the top of the game yet, man. So to me, the timeline has changed. If you look at all 5 draft picks under Will Dawkins, Bilal Coulibaly, Tristan Vucevic, right, Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George, Bob Carrington, all of them are under 21. Now, and again, getting back to the point of players that are pre going into their prime, if you look at the Tommy Shepard guys, Reeves is gone, Denny Avia gone, both of them on the West Coast now. Looking at Corey Kispert, he's the lone guy. Now, you got Johnny Davis, but I think we all agree that Johnny Davis is not looking at being a long-term piece. He's struggled. He hasn't lived up to his draft position, and could they hold on to him for another year and see if they can kind of get him right? Maybe, but at this point, you got young players who need the minutes. Keyshawn George is the biggest catalyst. Bub Carrington is the biggest catalyst. And these guys need minutes. Bub Carrington needs minutes. Keyshawn George needs minutes. Patrick Baldwin Jr., he needs minutes to see what can he be a piece for the future. So, Johnny Davis is working his way out of the picture long term for the Wizards. But getting back to Corey Kispert, man, it's tough because on one hand, you want to say, yes, he's a future piece. Every team needs a shooter. Every team needs a shooter. Again, looking at him and Denny, Jordan Poole, Sadiq Bey, all these guys, man, are around 25 years old, and they haven't hit their prime yet. So, but again, timeline has changed, but it hasn't officially changed. That's a question I want you guys to answer in the comment section. Has it officially changed? Because you still got Sadiq Bey, you still got Jordan Poole, and yeah, those 2 guys could be tradable assets, but they're kind of in the same situation as Corey Kispert, where they could be future pieces, but if they play well enough and their value is high enough, they very well could be moved, man. Because like I said, the focal point of this rebuild is all 5 draft picks under Will Dawkins. and everybody else is either a veteran piece right now, and it could be traded later. But I think there's a lot of questions surrounding. I know they really are trying to put a lot of time and effort into developing this backcourt of Jordan Poole and Bob Carrington. So, looking at Jordan Poole and his age, man, there's some hope there that, looking at a player like Corey Kispert, he could be part of the future because, if they're willing to invest in a backcourt of Jordan Poole and Bob Carrington, you want to say that they want Corey Kispert around because, again, he's shown he's a shooter at a high level. Mid-range 3-point. He's a guy who, with his slashing ability into his basket, moving without the ball. We need a guy like that on the roster. So you guys, again, get in the comment section. Let me know what you guys are thinking, man. Is he a trade piece? Is he a permanent piece of what the Wizards are trying to do? You guys let me know. So we're going to get into some trade destinations real quick. 5 teams that are the best fit for Corey Kispert, if indeed they want to trade him, because, they could go the Denny Avdia route, which is signing him to a very team-friendly deal and then move him at that point. So teams don't really have to go into the situation trying to bid against other teams and match salaries. He's already on a team-friendly deal, and they can move him. So, again, you guys, let me know in the comment section because right now I think that he should – Corey Kispert has proven he can play at a high level. We need a shooter here. So I'm in favor of him staying, just like I'm in favor of Jordan Poole staying. I was in favor of Denny staying, but we know what it is. With him and Rui, look, it is what it is with his front office, man. Because, like I said, looking at the timeline, and looking at, trades like especially the Denny Avdia trade, maybe it could be a preference thing. GMs come in and they evaluate what players they envision as part of their system or a part of the system of the coach that they have. And he may not have looked at Denny as fitting that system. Or you look at the long-term vision at small forward. Denny Avdia is obviously right now he is the long-term vision at small forward. So like I said, we often talk about timeline, stuff like that, but a lot of question marks with that. But I think we all can agree that, that the focal point, the young core going forward is definitely Bilal Coulibaly, Alex Sarr, Bob Carrington, Keyshawn George, and Tristan Vucevic. And so we'll have to wait and see if indeed Jordan Poole and Corey Kispert are future pieces or are they trade assets. So we're going to look at some trade destinations for Corey Kispert, but I'm going to talk to you guys real quick about Locked On NBA. Thank you again for making Locked On Wizards your first listen today. Now go check out Locked On NBA Podcast, where the season never ends, providing national expertise with a local perspective. You can find a link to Locked On NBA in the description below, so you don't need to search for it. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. All right, everybody, let's get back into it. So this article is from the Wizard of Oz. Like I said, shout out to the Wizard of Oz. Both Wizard of Oz and Bullets Forever are both of really good platforms that put a lot of good articles out there covering the Washington Wizards, man. So definitely shout out both to Wizard of Oz and Bullets Forever, man, because they do immaculate work. All right, so they put out an article about the 5 best trade destinations for Corey Kispert and the Wizards if they indeed want to move on from Corey Kispert. So let's get into it. We're gonna read each one. And I'm kind of give you my opinion about the fit and what kind of assets can we get back from each team. So all right, starting off with the team that always needs help, the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, Lakers, they need shooters, man. They need more shooters. They're trying to surround talent, surround LeBron James and Anthony Davis with shooters. And look, hate or love it, Corey Kispert could slide right in and be a good asset for the Lakers, man. One thing to look at is that they do have first-round picks available. Now, they will be later picks, and they will definitely be later in the year, but also later in the first round. You're not looking at them being lottery picks, but if you indeed want to pick up another pick, the Lakers is one of those teams where you could get a first-round pick for Corey Kispert, man. And even then, if you look at the fact that of their first-round picks, what are later in the years, they're going to be in years where they're going to be a lottery team. So right now is the time that if you're able to get a first-round pick from the Lakers, that could be in 2027, 2028, 2029, that's the time where the Lakers are going to be a lottery team. LeBron James is going to be gone by then. Anthony Davis is not going to have enough of that star power to really make LA that destination like LeBron James is, because and nothing against Anthony Davis, man, but how effective of a player will he be at that stage with the Lakers, man? So they'll definitely be a team that's going to be in transition and be a lottery team. So if you're able to get a 2027, 28, or 29 pick from the Lakers, man, they very well could be a lottery team. So, because I kind of said just now before that you're looking at picks that will be outside the lottery. Now, once you kind of think about it, I kind of changed my tune a little bit. And, you very well could get a lottery pick. Now, like I said, it's not guaranteed because it is the Lakers. And, the Lakers is one of those teams where they don't rebuild for long, if ever, man. They rebuild a little bit with Kobe Bryant following Shaquille O'Neal going to Miami, when you had Smush Parker as the point guard, but they're a team, now that they're not trying to rebuild for long, man. So we'll see. It could be a prospective lottery pick, but no guarantees. All right, let's get into the second team, everybody, the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, after losing Malik Beasley this year in free agency, they need some extra shooting. And even though they did replace him with Gary Trent Jr., they could definitely use another shooter in Corey Kispert. So again, like the Lakers, the picks, Milwaukee could, they do have picks. So that's definitely intriguing, man. They have picks to give out, man. And other young players that could be sent our way. Marshawn Beauchamp, Andre Jackson Jr., or AJ Green are three young players, man, that could be sent to DC in any prospective Corey Kispert trade to Milwaukee. So like LA, it's a team that's a contending team. This obviously they're in the East, not the West like the LA, but Bucks need that one shooter to help push them over the top. Because look, the East ain't easier, man. The Knicks are better. The Celtics, all roads in the East go through Boston, man. But the Knicks got better. The list goes on. There's teams in the East who got better. The East is still not on par with the West, but there's teams in the East that could definitely use Corey Kispert if they indeed want to take that next step and become a playoff hopeful or a contending team. All right, number 3, the Denver Nuggets. Now, obviously, we're used to sending players to Denver. KCP was a guy that I thought we should have held on to, in my opinion, especially if you look at the fact that we got Will Barton and Monte Morris in return. Now, Monte Morris, not a bad player. He did his job, but wasn't the long-term answer point guard. And then Will Barton was eventually bought out. So, KCP is a player that I wanted to stay. Now, if you look at, they lost 2 huge contributors, Bruce Brown, and then KCP is gone. KCP is now in Orlando. So let's see. Okay. The whole concept with picks is the same with the scenario with the Lakers and the Bucks. They got picks to give. Now the same thing with all 3 of these teams we just mentioned. They're teams where you may not necessarily get a lottery pick back. Now, looking at Lakers, the fact that LeBron James is probably going to be gone in a year or 2, you have the highest chance of getting a lottery pick with the Lakers. Because if you look at Milwaukee, you can say the same. He's up in the air. Is Giannis going to be there long term? How long with Damian Lillard? What is the window in Milwaukee? And if you get a pick in 27, 28, and 29, or even 2030, then you have a higher chance than Denver for them being lottery. Because I think Denver, out of these 3 teams, is the one team that once you hit 2027, 28, and 29, they're still going to be a competitive team. So you very well may not get a lottery first round pick. It's going to be a pick in the later stages of the first round. All right, getting into the 4th team. For Corey Kispert, the Memphis Grizzlies. Another team that's looking to add a shooter, young players, some talent around John Morant and Desmond Bane and Triple J. So, Corey Kispert could come in and be a really good shooter for the Memphis Grizzlies, man. And they, again, they could offer the Wizards a healthy mix of draft capital and young players who are worth taking a chance on for a rebuilding team. So, I think the Memphis is a really intriguing spot if you indeed want to move on from Corey Kispert, which I don't. But if the organization does want to move on from him, kind of like the scenario with Denny Avdia, steadily shipping a lot of these Tommy Shepard picks out of DC. Corey Kispert could be, very well, he could be a provider. He can definitely play well in DC, but it all depends on what this front office wants to do. But Memphis, to me, is one of the likable destinations out of these 4 teams you already talked about. Because, like I said, they got a nice assortment of picks and young players, man. And like I said, we are knee deep in a rebuild, man. So the 5th and final team, the Indiana Pacers. Now, they were massive overachievers this year, man, but they have a nice squad. Tyrese Halliburton, we all know he was very close to being a Wizard, but he ultimately went to Sacramento and is now with the Indiana Pacers, man. They need talent around them, and then adding an elite 3-point shooter to a rotation would be a great way to help Tyrese Halliburton and the Indiana Pacers take that next step. So, like I said, I don't know if looking at some young guys on Indiana, man, I would not be unhappy to trade with Indiana because, like I said, they have a lot of young players. But I think the big question is, what players would they be willing to give up for Corey Kispert? Because, like I said, Corey Kispert has value. He's a guy. He's a sharpshooter. He's a high basketball mind. He's a guy who can move without the basketball, which is a skill that is fading out of basketball, man. His ability to move out the basketball, I think, adds a lot of value to him in an offense with, where there's a lot of guys who need the ball in their hands. Having a guy like Corey Kispert who can move without the ball, I think is definitely a big asset for him. So looking at Indiana real quick, we're going to take a look at their depth chart real quick. What young players would I like in return in Indiana? Who would they be willing to send back? I could see 2 to 3 players that they would be willing to give up to the Wizards in return for Corey Kispert. Number one, Aaron Nesmith, I think, is a guy that could be realistic in a return package. Andrew Nembhard is another guy that I think can be pried away from the Pacers. And let's see. I'm going to say Isaiah Jackson. I think Isaiah Jackson is a guy who very well could be pried away from the Pacers, man, because if you look at their center position, yes, your starter is Miles Turner. They have James Wiseman on the team. So out of the 3 guys, just the fact that they may not trust James Wiseman to be that backup per se, Isaiah Jackson could be pried away. Yeah, but out of the 3 guys I mentioned, he's probably the least expected to be moved in any potential deal for Corey Kispert. I would expect Andrew Nembhard or Aaron Nesmith is a player to return to the Wizards in any prospective Corey Kispert trade. So again, you guys, let me know in the comment section. What do you guys think? What role should be Corey Kispert's role in DC next year? Is he a future piece here in DC? Is he part of the core, or is he a tradable commodity? And out of the 5 destinations we went over, which one do you think is the best case scenario for the Washington Wizards if we indeed want to move on for Corey Kispert and bring back draft capital or young players in return? So again, guys, I would not be dropping a video on Friday. This will be my 3rd video for the week. I will see you guys Sunday night. I'm gonna record on Sunday. I'm gonna drop the video on YouTube on Sunday, but on the podcast side, it will be dropping at 5:30 Monday morning. So again, I hope everybody has a blessed and safe weekend. If you drink responsibly. The weather is supposed to be really nice in the DMV area. So again, try to get out there with the fam if you have a fam, and get out there and get active, man, and enjoy your weekend. But again, have a blessed weekend, everybody. I will see you guys Sunday night. Hail to the Wizards and peace. See you guys next time.